As I look in this room, I see 14, 15-year-olds. I'm sure each and every one of you aspire someday to play at the highest level of baseball. I'm sure many of you aspire to play college baseball. I'm sure many of you dream to play in the major leagues someday. And this is the cream of the crop here as far as teams go. I'm sure somebody in this room, if not multiple players, someday will put the spikes on playing a professional game. So what I would like to do is take this opportunity to share with you, what I think a young player like you needs to understand in order to advance your game to the next level of baseball. All right, the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is your goals. Okay? It's important at your age to set your goals high. There's nothing wrong with dreaming of being a Major League Baseball player someday. I'm sure most of you do. I did that when I was your age. I did it when I was my son's age. When I was 4 years old, I dreamed of playing in the Major League someday. Set your goals high and do everything you can every day to achieve those goals. But as far as the next level of baseball after high school is college baseball. There's many different levels of college baseball. If you love to play and love to play the game, there will be the right opportunity for you. Now, in order to achieve those goals, what does somebody like Brian O'Connor, a coach at a Division I college baseball program, what qualities do I look for in young players when we go out and watch them play? Because I'm telling you, men, in today's day and age in college baseball recruiting, we are going out right now and watching 15 and 16-year-olds play baseball. We're starting as young as that age, evaluating players and determining whether or not they can play the game of baseball at our level. So what do we look for? What do they do that separate them from their peers? What qualities did they have as a player and as people that separate themselves from the pack? Well, the first thing is, you can't limit your options. What do I mean by that? It's your responsibility to do the best you can in the classroom academically so you don't limit your opportunities. Okay? It's like baseball. All right? And all of you can relate to baseball. If you should be a 350 hitter and you're not because you don't work hard enough and you don't spend the time doing it, then you should be ashamed of yourself. If you should be a 4.0 student and you're not, and you're a 2.5 student because you don't turn in your homework and you don't pay attention to the teachers, all right, then you should also be ashamed of yourself, okay? So don't limit your opportunities by underperforming academically, okay? The better that you do in school, in high school, the more options you will have as you enter college. The second thing, what do we look for? I look for players that have an enthusiasm and a passion for the game. I want players that I feel like we have to rip the jersey off their back, that love to play the game of baseball. All right, and the coaches out there know, the difference in those types of players. Do you show up to the ballpark every day with a smile on your face, and do you love to play the game? Next, coachable players. When we're assessing players to decide can they play at the next level, you want players that aspire to do that don't just say that that's what they want to accomplish, that show it in their actions. Are they willing to make adjustments in the game of baseball to further their development as a player? Do they look the coaches in the eye when your coaches are teaching you about infield player pitching or making a coaching point? Are your eyes wandering on them, or are you locked into them and really grasping what they're teaching you? Next, we want winners. All right, what's a winner? Somebody that performs in the clutch. We want players that want to be the guy at the plate with the game on the line when his team's counting on him. There will be many of you in this room that will have that opportunity over this next week. You'll be that guy at the plate or the guy on the mound or the player at shortstop that has to make that big clutch play or that big pitch or get that big hit for your team to win the game? Who out there wants to be that player? That's a separator. Okay, those players are winners on the field. Next is failure. All right, I'll tell you the number one reason why I love the game of baseball, because the game of baseball is completely built around failure. There's no other sport that mirrors life than the game of baseball. Okay? And there is a lot of young players no longer playing our game or quit baseball at your age because they don't handle failure real well. Okay? I love to see how a player handles adversity and handles failure within the game. All right. Pete Rose holds the record for the most hits in a major league career. Can anybody tell me how many hits Pete Rose had in his major league career? 4,256 hits. Pete Rose, during his major league career, made 10,328 outs. Okay, so this is my point. Arguably the greatest hitter of all time in our game went back to the dugout feeling like a failure over 10,000 times. Can you imagine that? Over 10,000 times. But if you ask Pete Rose will tell you this, that every time that he made it out, he went back to that plate believing he was the greatest hitter in the game, and there was no way that pitcher was going to beat him. That's what separates players, fellas. Okay? How do you handle failure? All right? The greatest teams in baseball lose 30% of their games. All right? The greatest hitters in the game of baseball fail 60 or 70% of the time. How you handle failure as a baseball player will be a big part in making you into the type of player that you are. There's going to be one team out of this group that comes out the champion that's going to be the World Series champion. How are you, the other 9 teams, going to handle not winning at all? I know what it's like not to win at all. You know, we had our hearts broken at the end of this year with the chance to go to the national finals, okay? And we couldn't pull it off. All right? 9 of these teams out here are going to deal with failure at the end of this week. And how you're going to handle it is going to be important in your continued development as a baseball player. Next, do something to stand out every day on the field. Do something to stand out. What do I mean by that? Okay? That means with your actions and not your lips. Okay? I remember this was about 15 years ago. I recruited a player out of Columbus, Ohio. I'm at an event in Cincinnati. It was called a Team One Showcase. And back 15 years ago, Team One Showcases were the thing to go watch the best players in the country play at. And so I'm at this event, and I'm watching, and they had a rule in this showcase in the games that if a player walked, okay, the batter at the plate would not walk. A player out of the dugout would come out of the dugout and run at first base. So I'm at this event for 3 days, watching all these games, and every time his team was playing, this player, Steve Stanley, every time somebody walked on his team, he was running out of the dugout and running to first. He wasn't going to let anybody else take his opportunity to go to first base. You know, and on that weekend, Steve Stanley stole about 12 bases. So I go back after the weekend's over. We're meeting as a coaching staff. And I share with what I see. I said, listen, you know, I don't know for sure if he's physical enough to play at this level of baseball, because Steve Stanley was about 5'6", maybe 5'7", maybe 160 pounds soaking wet, okay, as a 17-year-old. I said, I don't know for sure if he has enough physical skills to play, but this kid loves to play, all right? And we signed him to come to school. This is back when I was coaching at the University of Notre Dame. And we signed him. He didn't get any bigger than 5'7", 165 pounds. He went on his junior year to win the batting title in the Cape Cod Summer League, which is the premier collegiate summer league for college players to play in. And he went on after his senior year to be a second-round draft choice by the Oakland Athletics. Okay? Steve Stanley did something that weekend to stand out. And it was with his actions and not his lips. First impressions. I'm huge on first impressions when I go out and watch players. Basically, guys, you never know who's watching. You never know what coach is in those stands watching. You know, a lot of times as coaches, when we go to games, okay, a lot of times we don't tell the players, the recruits, that we're coming to their game. All right? Sometimes we'll go to games in the state of Virginia to watch players, and we'll stand behind the outfield fence or stand all the way down line just because we don't want the player to know that we're there watching them. And we want to see how they go about their business when they don't think somebody's watching them and evaluating them. Okay? Go about your business the right way all the time, and you'll be fine. And you never know when you have an opportunity to make a first impression on somebody. And finally, be a great teammate. I make this promise to every player that we recruit that comes into our program. All right? And this is more important than ability. Okay? Ability is important to play at the level that we're playing at. All right? But more importantly than that, I have to recruit players that are going to be good teammates. We have 35 players in our locker room. All right? And the commitment that I make to everyone that we recruit is that I will continue to bring players into our program that are not only talented, but that they will enjoy being good teammates with. Pick each other up. That's what this game is all about. I just explained to you how hard this game is to play. Be a good teammate. All right? Pick each other up at difficult times during the game. In closing, I'd just like to, mention two things to you. When you go to bed tonight, okay, remember that you earned the opportunity to play in this World Series. That's really important, guys, okay, that you understand that you earned this opportunity. And secondly, from this point forward, you guys are the elite of 1 million Babe Ruth baseball players are here in Richmond for 1 week, okay? So obviously there's some very, very good players sitting in front of you. When you lay your head on that pillow every night, okay, you have to know that on that day, you did everything you could do to make yourself the best baseball player, the best student, okay, and the best person you can possibly be. That's your responsibility. Be the best that you possibly can be. And if it means someday you win a World Series or you play in the Major League someday, that's great. Okay? That is the responsibility that you have to yourself, okay, moving forward as a great baseball player. All right? I want to wish all of you the best this week, the coaches and the players. All right? There's going to be one team that's going to come out of this thing. All right? And you're all going to have an equal opportunity starting in a couple of days here. And I want to wish you guys the best, and I hope that you enjoy your time here in Virginia. Thank you.